What's up, guys? I'm Zach with Bus Voyage, and today we are talking about designing your solar system. Now, it's a little messy in here because we've been hard at work, but let's jump right in. So, what I've got going on here is I am trying to lay out my solar system before I actually put it in my bus. So right now I just have cardboard down, and I have measured the area in my bus that I want to put my solar system. And so I'm trying to mock it up on cardboard, figure out the exact layout, where the wires are going to go, the components are going to go, where the fuses are going to go. And then once I figure that out, I'm going to replicate that on the actual hardwood in which I'm going to mount my whole solar system. So hoping to get a design that works here and fits in the space.
Okay, so right here, I'm working to basically design my system. I'm using cardboard first, just so I can get a general layout. So I've mapped my bus and I figured out the correct area that I want to lay my solar system. And I want to make it as compact as possible. And you know, with the size I have in my bus, with the space I have, I'm pretty limited. So right now I have about 25 by 25 inches for my battery, and I have about 21 by 25 inches for the rest of my components. And you can kind of see that here, how I have two squares marked on the cardboard, each with the components in them. So the things that I was thinking about when designing the system were mainly, how can I make it make the most sense? You know, how can the wires all work in a smart way, not be crossing over, you know, or at least a minimum amount of times. And also wire distance is a big deal. I really wanted to minimize wire distance so that we're not getting voltage drops from excessive amounts of wire. On top of that, I was trying to make room for handles so that I could carry this when I'm done on the hardwood, which we're about to go get here in a second.
2,000 years later.
All right, it's 10 a.m. Saturday morning. We're off to Home Depot. We're gonna buy wire lugs and a wood board, and then we are going to commence the building of our electrical system. So here we go, let's get to it.
So while we're going out and grabbing the wood, let's talk about the actual components of the solar system. So the solar system is a very complicated thing, especially if you've never built a DIY system before like this. You're gonna have a ton of research to do, and if you're interested in that, I can do another video on that one where I dive deeper into the technicalities and the specific components. But here we'll start with a general overview. So the main components that you're going to need in your system are obviously your batteries and your panels. But on top of that, a charge controller is super important. So a charge controller is going to regulate the amperage coming in from the panels for the batteries and make sure that it charges at a consistent rate. Then you've got your inverter. So your inverter is super important if you want AC power. And you know, if you plan on making this a full-time living situation, you probably want AC power just for, you know, appliances like a microwave, a blender, a phone, a laptop. Then on top of that, we've got our DC breaker box, and our DC breaker box is kind of similar to the inverter, but for DC power. And so this is something that we'll use for things like our fan, our lights, potentially a refrigerator, depending what kind we get. So that's pretty important too. Then we've got a number of fuses and circuit breakers. These are important just for protecting our system, and that'll be the main components for your solar system. Now, there's a bunch of other smaller components that you'll want in your AC system or connecting your DC components, but I recommend if you're building a DIY solar system, start with the big components.
Okay, so I think we got the final configuration figured out for the electrical system. So after a handful of permutations and playing around with it, I think this is the optimal layout. And so I'm just gonna walk you guys through what I have going on here. So hopefully this can help you make your decision when you're trying to figure out your electrical layout. So first, let's go over the components that we are using in our layout. So we've got our two batteries here. Each of these are 2.45 kilowatt hours. They're 24 volts, so each of them are just under 100 amp hours. Then we've got our Victron Energy Multiplus. So this is an inverter and a charger for shore power. Here we've got a 40 amp charge controller for regulating amperage down from the solar panels to the batteries. Here we've got our DC breaker box. So this will take the DC power from the batteries and basically just, you know, put breakers on each of our individual components so nothing gets fried. Then we've got our main fuse and our main breaker box. So this is gonna be the main positive connection, this will be the main negative connection, which will basically be the insertion point from the batteries to the rest of the system. And then we've got 2 circuit breakers here. So this one's a 50 amp circuit breaker, and it's for our 40 amp charge controller. And the way we calculated that is basically if you take 1.25 times the amperage that you're looking to have go into that, that's the size circuit breaker you're gonna need. So we got that here. We've also got a 120 amp circuit breaker for our DC circuit breaker. Now, technically you could probably go without this because, I mean, this is a fuse block itself, and worst comes to worst, this will just blow. However, it's really nice to have one of these because if there is a surge, this would blow all of your breakers, all your fuses, and you'd have to rebuy all of these fuses, including the box. So this is just nice because if a surge does come, your box will be all right, your fuses will be fine, and it's just one piece to replace instead of like 10. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell down below for new videos every Thursday. And if you're interested in a more in-depth technical look at how to build your solar system for your bus or van conversion, then tune in next Thursday for our technical analysis on this. All right, thanks guys.